come over in just a second and holler at y'all. And get this knocked out right quick. Yep. You're like, what in the world is Jason doing? Oh, I am adjusting. I'm adjusting this bracket where I can weld this corner up. Get that good hot. I'm not getting the tube hot, I'm just getting the bracket hot. Okay. See if I can kind of massage that a little bit. Yep, that I can weld up. That I can weld up. All right. Oh, man, we got a ton of storms rolling through the southeastern U.S. and here in West Tennessee, we got really lucky. We were supposed to get slammed last night and not a drop of rain, nothing. It split. And I think a lot of people I think there's been a lot of damage, a lot of people hurt. But we got lucky. It split around us in West Tennessee. It looks like it all went kind of south in Mississippi and north in the Louisville, Missouri, and Kentucky, and it's going on across. So if y'all are in it, I hope you're safe. Been a while, hadn't it? I'm telling you. So I think I haven't I've been doing shorts and stuff and really working on and just building out, like, you know, in the other social media platforms. And so, like, I've taken a lot of videos that were good and real popular videos and made, like, some short 3-minute clips. I don't know if y'all have seen any of those, but it's something. I haven't made a lot of YouTube videos because I've been having to gather my resources. So we had some really expensive stuff this spring that I had to upchuck the money for. And so kind of, you know how it is when you work a day job and, you know, racing is a hobby. It is not your profession. So the money for it has to wait. And finally we gathered up and I got the new rear end right here. Had to have a rear end. I could not straighten out that other rear end. Matter of fact, where's the rear end? If you watched my last episode, well, the episode where we went through, I don't even know what it did, but, oh, yeah. Yeah, you can see. I gutted that joker, and because I was looking at how bad it was and everything, and then the cost of, like, going and buying all of the brackets to go on the tubes and stuff, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna salvage this one, and then turn around and put all of those brackets on there, and then do the video and show how, without a jig, and you don't do rear ends for a living, how you can figure out how to do brackets yourself. So I made that video and I've got all of it shot, and I'm about 3/4 of the way through editing it, and I am planning on releasing it tomorrow. So probably like tomorrow morning, my episode will come out that is specifically putting a floater under a metric frame car and figuring out where the brackets go and everything to set it up, set the pinion angle, the whole 9 yards. Let's see, Brandon Jones, hey bud. Is absolutely, now it's raining and we've missed all the storms. There was a second line of storms that's on the backside of this really bad system, and it's hit us, you know, as far as it's just wind and lightning. It's nothing like what, you know, everybody that where all the destruction was on that front line. But yeah, it's working in the shop. I got a border collie in the shop with me. Any of y'all that's got border collies or ever had border collies? Oh, when it storms, which I lock her up. I keep her in the shop or keep her in the house when it storms. But she's just all over you and just, you know, hassling and just freaked out. But I keep her with me because she's a disaster when it storms. Hey, Joe. Yeah, so, yeah, Joe, we're doing weld up brackets and everything. This is a working live session, but I'm telling you, I was just like, man, I've disappeared off the radar. I got people who are like, where you at, Jay? Are you coming to Western Kentucky Speedway to run the Top Dog Series this year? I did. Year 4 last, I got to come to one of them, which it wasn't the Top Dog then. It was still, you know, the Ultimate Street Stock Series was going on. And then turn around, and last year, when y'all had the Top Dog Series and everything, I did not get to come, and I had Rachel in the Camaro because we was wanting to come and run, the factory stop with it and everything. And then, she popped my motor in my factory stock, which was slam out. I wasn't worried about it. That's why I told her, I said, don't worry about the gauges, don't worry about anything, just drive the car. She didn't worry about the gauges either. She ran over 300 and smoked it. But I have got a bag sitting over in the floor. And anyway, my machinist, Robert Hughes, Hughes Machining is a fantastic guy. But he did me a block. And so I got a block machined, and then I had a set of Vortec heads. And I had dropped a valve on one of them. You know how it is. It dropped a valve, and it didn't strike the seat. You know how you'll have the piston come up, and you bend a valve? But it didn't strike down against the seat, and that's just luck of the draw, because sometimes it bends it enough that it actually will make it imprint into the seat, and you end up having to have your seat cut and replaced. I got lucky there, didn't strike it, but is the guide okay? What's going on there? And so I took the heads to him and asked him, I said, put me some fresh valves in it all the way around, and just go through them, set them up for hydraulic cam. So I'm probably going to be building a factory stock motor, and I'm going to try to do the video on that. But I have just spent so much to get the street stock going. That's probably going to have to wait till mid-season. I told Rachel, I said, get out there with that Honda Civic and have fun, and get out there and race. And I think I got the tire thing figured out. I'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, yeah, so she's going to take the Honda Civic. We're probably going to take it to a fairly close track. We're probably going to take it to Atwood, Tennessee. And I did some math. I'm wore out. I got to get a chair. Anyway, so I did some math after taking the Honda Civic to the Talladega Ice Bowl. And I can do like a 20% reduction in gear ratio by just going up on tire size. And then when I figured out, I would be at like 22 or 23% gear reduction by throwing my H500s on that car. So I took some H500 tires, 27.5, some H500 27.5s, and put on the car. And I didn't look at the rules as far as if I could run a dirt tire, if I had to run a radial, because it's a front wheel drive. But I don't care. I mean, in other words, before I have to go and buy radial snow tires or something, we'll run that and see, are we hitting the rev limiter in second gear? Because I want to keep that Honda Civic in second gear and see it's showing a 786 ratio in second gear, but it drops all the way down to 506 when you go to third. It's got this huge spread between second and third gear. So, I don't want to go to third gear, because if I go to third gear, I have to go to a little bitty tire. And y'all that race on dirt, you already know, sidewall on your tire is just like a shock absorber that helps you keep that tire hooked into the track. When you go into the corner, a good tall sidewall on that tire gives you that cushion, that spring, for that tread of that tire to stay hooked into a slick track. So I really don't want to put a really small tire on the car. It'll probably make it harder to drive on a slick track. Anyway, so all that said, back to Top Dog Series, based out of, I think, tell me, Dustin, based out of Western Kentucky Speedway, right? That's the home track. Depending on when the races are and when I get the Camaro done and everything, it's possible. And I will probably drive it. I told Rachel, I'm like, I don't have a problem if you drive in the Camaro, but if I put a fresh motor in and everything, there's a big factory stock race, I'm probably going to put my seat in it and race my leafer. Yep. Hey, Roger, what's going on, bud? Up there in Illinois, a lot more racing up there than it is down here. Anyway, we've already had a couple play days locally around, which I am nowhere near ready for. Of course, like y'all said, like y'all saw in the last episode, my 9-inch Ford rear end was absolutely kaput, ruined, done. I decided that it was just way too bad for me to be able to cut the brackets off and everything. So I chopped all the brackets off of my old floater. I got a new floater and then turned around, and I just this week shot the episode and everything of how to figure out how to do the brackets and all. Be looking for it tomorrow. Sometime tomorrow morning, I'll probably have it like just auto release. I'll probably finish it up tonight, but you don't load stuff on, on like Saturday night. You don't ever put anything out like that. Because the way YouTube works and stuff, if people are racing and they're busy and nobody watches it, well then YouTube says, oh, that video is no good. And then they just literally won't show it to anybody. So I'll have it like automatic release in the morning is what I'll have it do. Let's see, what Dustin say? Top Dog Series running 3 different tracks, Western Kentucky, Cedar Ridge, and Paducah. And I haven't been to Paducah either, so I may, depending on how y'all schedule works, if I can't make it to Western Kentucky, I'm hoping maybe I can make it to Paducah and everything, which I imagine I'd have to run a 6.0 gear. I can run like a 633 or something at Western Kentucky, but I'll have to put a 6.0 in, I think, to run Paducah. That's a big, fast track. That as well. Let's see. Oh, let me show y'all something. Of course, Mr. J. Neal, BSB Manufacturing. Of course, Mr. J sponsors us. He discounts some of the shocks and stuff. There's really, really good technology, but the shocks become quite expensive, and Mr. J does discount where that I can afford to be able to buy a little bit more shock than I normally would be able to. I've been with him for years, and I think they just do great work, and so he discounts. I'm in his program, his Go Fast program, and I get a discount. So I appreciate that, Mr. J. But anyway, I got the Elites. Now, I kind of was creeping my way into these. So, for example, with them, it's an Elite shock has got base valving in it, and it has SRT valving as well, the SRT feature and the base valving, both. And the base valving is what is taking and letting you run real high pressure, but with soft rod force. And so it splits out that pressure inside the shock so that you get the control of very, very high pressure. But like this, right, let me show you the one. This is a left rear, and this is a 75 pound, 75 pounds of rebound, 550 pounds of compression. This is a Series 1, so with that over the nose setting, and I don't understand shocks, so couldn't tell you. But he put out a video just a couple of days ago. Y'all can check it out. And he said like a 550 Series 1, like on other people that talk about shocks and numbers, that's something like a 10 is what that would be, something like. But the first shock that I bought like from him on this left rear didn't have a base valve. You had to take a jack, and you had to jack the bottom of the shock up. And anyway, just to get it onto the shaft, because it's like 300 and something pounds of nitrogen in here. And it's just like, good luck. Well, then also that is influencing your setup as well. So like then that shock's adding spring rate to your car, and so, you got to account for all that as well. But like, I mean, seriously, it was terrible. Okay. So then this one, I can take and I can actually push it in by hand. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, but I can actually push it in by hand. And it's because of the base valving in it. And then it's got the SRT as well. And SRT is like I think my understanding is that's what's helping, like, for example, when you run through a real rough track and you've got like bumps in the track, you can have, like if you've got a very aggressive shock or a shock that's got some really strong valving in it, it's a stack that will allow that shock to give up and move, when it hits those real rough bumps or holes or something like that, and then return right back, to holding the car, holding that right front down or holding that left rear up, like holding that position on the car, after it goes through that bump, is the SRT. So you get the softness. So the base valve is what it's doing is it's making a gas shock feel more like a traditional oil shock. See, I'm an oil shock guy. Like on my leaf spring cars, I always ran oil shocks, and I like that soft feel of oil shocks. And to me, on dry slick tracks, it's easier to drive a car with oil shocks. And so when I first started out with Mr. J and I was on the regular shocks, and of course they had a lot of gas pressure in them to control the valving, and the car just really felt stiff and really felt rigid. And it was driver feel thing, not necessarily that there was anything wrong with the way it was controlling the car. But then when I started, like last year, I got my first base valve shocks, and like I was like, holy smokes, this is different. Because like I could just tell, like as I was turning the car just felt more limber and smooth. Like when I would jerk on it and stuff, I got more of that movement that I was used to feeling. And so I just got more comfortable. I just immediately got more comfortable in the car. So it really helped me when I got on those. So now I'm completely on. I sent back shocks for rebuilding stuff. Added, like I had some that had base valve, didn't have an SRT valve, stuff like that. So now I'm completely on the Elite Series shocks all the way around it. So like, and what I did is I'm staying with that 75 550 on the left rear, and on the right front, I had started out on an 800 on my other car for rebound, which is a lot. And, ran some camera on that and saw that like what was really going on. It was just keeping the car pinned down, taking all the drive out of the car. It was a hot mess. I didn't know what the car was supposed to feel like anyway, because I really wasn't familiar with the coil car at the time. But as I've transitioned and learned, I ended up in a 500 rebound. And last year running the 500, I was running into situations to where I would have some laps that I was really good and some laps where I didn't quite hit the corner right. If I was a little late on entry or I was a little early on entry, I couldn't keep the car pinned like on the right front and keep it in attitude. It's like I had to be on my numbers and have that entry just smooth and perfect, or I'd lose the nose on the car. I don't know if those of y'all that race know what I'm talking about. Like like you'll come in on entry and then like you'll have something happen, you're not quite right, or you got a car in your way and you kind of lose the nose and the car will like shove up on you. And the thing is that, it's like you want to, the fastest car is the one that you've got the nose and you've got the car turning, but it's just, it's right at the balance. That it's, that you've got all the drive in the car and you're picking the throttle up and it is turning, but, the nose is just down. You just got control of it. You don't have this super free car that's got no drive in it. And so I was just on the other side of that. And I'm like, man, what do I do? What do I do? So I talked to Mr. J. What he did was he built me a 600. So I've got a 500 and I've got a 600. And I'm thinking that just that 100-pound difference is all I want. I don't want it to go like between a 500 and 800 or something. I think a 500 is the minimum I want. So I'm probably going to take and run. Oh, that's not my 500. There's my 600. My 500 is in another box. But anyway, so I'm thinking that the way this is going to work is that my normal shock is going to be the 500 rebound on the right front. And if I get to go and I go to a big show or something or qualifying, if I know the track's hooked up, then I'll probably put the 600 on the right front. It's only 100 pounds. It's going to, it's going to help, just give me, just hold that a little bit longer, help me be able to turn the car, because I will have a lot more drive in the car. So I need to like have a little more shock to hold that drive out of the car. So just keep that in mind, guys, that the way it works, your right front, rebounding your right front is actually taking drive out of your left rear. People think putting a whole bunch of rebound in the right front makes the car faster. Well, actually what it does is it's stopping the car, like it's stopping the drive from coming back to the left rear as quick. So you're taking drive out of the car on purpose by putting rebound in the right front, but that's how you get the car to turn. Yeah, like Street Stock Nationals, exactly, Mark. Down there, sometimes, and I tell you, me and Ryan have really got to get our plan together, and we've got to have a plan before we get down there. And I think the guys that make the show and stuff, they've got somebody with them, and they really know what they're doing at like the Street Stock Nationals, where you got 130, 140 cars competing. You've got a whole bunch of qualifying groups that are going, a whole bunch of heat races that are going out, and you're staging up and it's moving really quick. but it's a ton of laps getting put on the track. And so the track is changing. It's changing. And it's changing really fast. I am going this year, Mark. But the track is changing really fast. And I'm watching. And I'll be sitting there with somebody that's staged up. And, we're like in the third group back. But, I mean, they're moving up quick, And so, anyway, and they're like the third group back or whatever. And there'll be somebody who's running up there on a golf cart or they're on a four-wheeler and they're running up there and they're looking and they're watching the track. And then they're coming back. And, I look and they're changing shocks out. It's somebody, the guy in front of me, there's two guys and they got flashlights and they're snatching the shock off of the right rear and putting a different shock on in staging, and they're, and they got the gauge and they got an air tank sitting on the back of a golf cart and they're changing air pressure on tires. I saw a spacer, a guy took a jack, jerk the right front off, throw the spacer on, throw the right front back on. And they're doing that right before they go on the track because the track's changing. It's evolving that fast. And it's like, woo, these guys are outclassing me on multiple different levels. Like not just like driving on the track or not just technology on the car, but like they're outclassing me on their understanding of what it takes to have the right car when they get on the track. And so anyway, which, that's part of it. I learned that. But yeah, I was really paying attention last year, because you go every year, and that was my third trip for the Street Stock Nationals. So I'm really like, what's the difference? What are these guys doing that I'm not doing, that I should be, or whatever. And like that one just jumped out at me, slapped me right in the face. And I was like, we got to have a plan. We got to have a plan. Yep. Mark says, I think you have 2 or 3 people on the same set telling each other information. Oh, like they're working together. Like you got a group of guys that are racing and they're telling each other what's going on where they can stay ahead of it. Probably so. But anyway, Elite Shocks, I've got them. And of course I'll show y'all exactly what we're doing. I am going to stick with that a little bit more rebound on the right rear. Car got better last year. By the end of the year last year, at the local track I was racing at, the one at Atwood, Clay Hill Motorsports, we were getting good. I was getting very comfortable in the car, and started seeing where that okay, we're fixing to start pulling features at this point, and then just the season ran out, but. I felt like I was there. A disaster of it at Talladega at the Ice Bowl. But the day we went out and practiced, the day we went out in hot lap, we bent the rear end all up that day. There was no doubt. The car was absolute junk after that. And it didn't even enter my mind that I could have literally bent the rear end up and bent stuff at that level. Because I'm out there racing and I haven't wrecked or anything. But I about flipped the car 1 or 2 times. And, yep. I ruined it, and so then turn around, and then of course what was really aggravating is like I run into somebody else in the heat race because the car's doing something I didn't expect, and so I should have stopped right there and said, "What in the world is going on? How's the sound working now? Are y'all Mark? Is my sound still popping in and out, or is it calmed down?" Look at this here. All right, and I was just going to show y'all. Hang on, I'm going to flip the camera around. So y'all can see I've been working under this thing. I got bolts everywhere. I got trailing arms. I got it all. Up underneath there, you can see my string where I was stringing the car to set that rear end up. Of course, the body's off all the way around. And I am... Mr. Bentley Shaw Dominator he is also one of our sponsors. So this is the entire body of the car right there. I have no idea how that's going to go. I got a new wrap to go on it. Extreme Concepts is who I get my wraps from. And he doesn't have a lot of experience, but Mr. Bentley said, well, it wasn't Bentley, matter of fact, it was one of his main guys I was talking to. But he said, yes, this surface right here, just have it clean. You don't have to prep or spray anything weird on it. And the adhesives do adhere to it very well. So I'm going to take my old patterns. See my old patterns over there? I'm going to take my old patterns and I'm going to cut and we're going to mount that. Of course, we'll do a video on it. My fenders were still good. I didn't get new fenders because they can clean up. I'm going to take a heat gun. I'll make them gloss black out. But, all my top metal was still good. The hood was good. So I didn't do the top wrap. I did have to get a new nose. It's back over there in the box. Of course, the Dominator Camaro nose. I think it is. I hope it is. Yeah, that's the Dominator Camaro nose. So, new nose. Of course, the bumper. Yeah, Talladega got that too. So, there's the new bumper. I'm going to show. I've got a video showing that, how to figure out how to put the bumper. But, we'll go back through that. See, it's adjustable right here. This is the way it comes from the factory. You see those axle seals? I'm running axle seals this year. I don't have anything against them. I don't know that they add anything. You run a cordless gear oil in them when you run them. I don't know. We'll see. Let's try it. That's my mounts for my shocks right there. I've got those cleaned up and ready to go. That's for the left and the right rear shock. There's the cups to go on it right there. Got them all cleaned up, ready to weld on right there. And anyway, so you can see where I've been putting the brackets on. This is quick performance brackets that I cut off of Mother rear end. I had a little bit of a gap right here. Well, that's probably how I cut this one off. I made a gap, but it was more about putting the hole in the right place. And in the episode that drops tomorrow, that'll make sense. But anyway, but you can see I've already started welding. So this side right here, well, so I will show you. This, let's see, which side is it? Yeah, okay. So, you see that tube right there? That's the right rear tube. You see that tube right there? Those of you that know, that's the left rear tube. Look what's going on with that bad boy. Oh, yeah. Now, I will say this. That's not a cheap option. Seriously, not a cheap option. But I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I am slowly, you know how it is when you work a regular job and you're a weekend warrior racer and you just kind of creep your way into better technology. That's me, creeping my way into better technology. But yeah, and you see I've, like I said, steadily going on. Got this side pretty well done. It turned out really good. This is great. Ain't worried about that bad boy. This is the left side right here. And I gotta make sure that that's 2 3/4 inches is the rule on having that. So, and that's my top hole right there across. So I've got a rule for that. Some of y'all are like, you drop that down, Well, the bracket has it, y'all, but like the rules for Crate Racing USA Street Stock, I have to be right here. And I've been scared to, like, I race at tracks where I'm not racing cruiser rules. I'm just, like, the class is just a class with similar rules, but, like, it's their own. And they don't have a rule on, like, lower rod length, yada, yada, yada. And I have been hesitant to, like, show up at a track and change that hole position on that lower trailing arm and drop it way down, because it's like, okay, what does that do? I'm trying to figure the car out. I'm not winning races. I'm trying to get faster, and then I'm going to add another, that was doing something and I didn't realize it, or I didn't make an adjustment right for it. So I have been avoiding that, but I need to add that to the game this year. Of course, on this right rear right here, I've got the hole drilled up here that's only like 1 1/4 inches, because we're just making sure that we're flat. I measured, and that's where that hole needed to be for that rod to be like level, or close to level. Anyway, and this rear end right here, and of course you see these are just spotted in place where that we were setting up to get in the right place. All right, so y'all notice something? Look how tall that left rear is right there compared to that right, which this one sits, on the side of the housing. But you see that huge, let's sit up here where you can see it. See that difference in height right there? That is a big deal on how these cars, how these rear ends work and how they'll articulate. This, we checked, and like this left rear will drop. It'll drop like something like 12 or 15 inches down compared to this side over here will only drop, like around 6 or 9 inches on dropout. So like this rear end has got like raising this up and having this upper trailing arm flat on this side really gives you the ability to articulate before you get into binds. You can get all that left rear shock. You can continue to just grab and climb and get more and more drive going down the straightaway, and you don't start binding your rear end up. And then not only that, but if those trailing arms, the higher they are on the rear end, then it creates drive. You create drive in the car when you step on the gas, because it's literally letting it climb on that bar with the angle in it on the bottom. But like when they're mounted lower, it actually is working against your angles on the bottom. Like that angle on that lower left rear that's wanting to drive the rear end under the car and put weight on the tire, the lower that trailing arm is down on the rear end on top, the more it resists that. It's working against it. And so when you raise that one up like that, you help to really let that lower rear add the drive by getting angle in it, which is a good thing. Made a few changes on this thing. I changed this out. I did not like how the drain was done on this rear end. It looked, I just wasn't happy with it. And I changed the filler out as well. I was not happy with the filler, and I changed it out. Overall, really, really nice piece for sure. I mean, look at this, y'all. Big, thick plate right here. Got these inside stabilizer pieces. This is a great looking piece, but all of the fillers and the drain and everything was just these bones that were sticking out. And so like it had that sticking straight out the bottom, just waiting for me to run over something and tear it out. And I was like, no, I'm going to change that out. I don't like that. But I'm not complaining about this rear end. This is a super nice rear end. It's what I asked for, and it's what I got. And it's really nice. But yeah, so anyway. All right. What else? What else do we need covered? I gotta go back to welding. I said I was gonna just weld this up and leave it live, but then I get excited and I can't do it. But yeah, that's kind of letting you know what's going on. As far as like racing videos, I don't know. If we maybe by next weekend, either next weekend after, if I get a chance to take the Honda Civic to the track for like a test and tune and just let Rachel get out there and let's see if the RPMs is right on running those bigger tires, so we can get dialed in on that's like a 8,000 RPM rev limiter on it. I'm not switching that car out to like an aftermarket racing box because it's like a D16 or D17 engine. The engine is like a 95 horse engine, and it's like we're trying to have fun. We're not going to be very competitive. I just want us to be able to, keep up, be in the middle of the pack. I'm not interested in spending thousands of dollars on a VTEC engine for the Honda and an aftermarket computer system and all of that. Like, I can't. It's too many irons in the fire. It's all I can do if I can race this street stock and also build an engine for our factory stock. Because I still love my leafer. I need to sell that leafer, but I just can't bring myself to do it. What I need to do is I need to build like on my wish list is getting a hold of a complete metric chassis with firewall and floorboard and everything, like a whole car, seats and everything, the whole thing, and loading it up and coming home and then building a factory stock, minimum budget, we'll have, the motor and transmission, like if I sold the Camaro off, I'd sell it like, say, a roller, And so I would take and we're going to put a floater 9-inch rear end in it. I have a 3-speed transmission, stock clutch, and my engine right here. And then we're going to go through, and it's like we're going to keep the entire car together, keep the stock body all the way around on it, and then just taking like what needs to come out of the car, what parts of the metal do we skin out and what do we leave, build the roll cage with the firewall, floor pan, body, and everything still on the car, and probably just do a top off type build. And those of y'all that have built cars and stuff or had a built know what I'm talking about. We'll just go through and cut the pillar posts and then build the roll cage and the chassis and everything, and then we turn around and put it all back and then just weld it all back up. And I would love to do that. And I think I could build learning what I've learned about coil cars and how the coil cars work. I think I could make a factory stock coil car work really well. I do. I see kind of how that works and what's going on with it. So I think we could make a factory stock. I think we could make a factory stock coil car work and be pretty quick. Understand kind of more about how the springs work now, how the shocks work, and so that would be a lot of fun. And after building the Honda, where I went through and like did the roll cage, in the stock body, it kind of brought back memories of. I remember when I started racing in the late 90s, early 2000s. That was your entry level classes. You were gutting the cars and putting the cage in the car. With you didn't like take the body off the car and do all that. You gutted it. And, you might skim the doors out, or take some things out or get some weight off the front of the car. But, the whole car was still there, and you would leave the front suspension alone, and you would just like change the springs out. And you would just, take and like on the right front brake, you would leave the brake pads that were on the car, and you would just take a grinding wheel and slot out the right front brake pads where that you had more left front brake and less right front brake. And it's like so like taking that Honda Civic and like, okay, we got roll cage tubing and we got a car that runs, and that's it. We're gonna make a race car. We're not gonna go spend a bunch of money. We're gonna just make a race car. And I enjoy that. That's good stuff. And so I'd kind of like to do that with a factory stock. And, and then just let Rachel drive it or whatever, it's like, hey, get after it, or do it like I did the Honda. I did the Honda where the seat can be changed out and moved really easy on it. I mean, I could put my seat in the Honda. We could decide on a Saturday that like I wanted to drive that Honda Civic, and that seat can unbolt. I can put a different seat in an hour flat, like it did nothing. The back of it, adjustment, everything. I got it all done. So I'm, that's kind of my dream list, but I can't, my wife would probably divorce me if we started building another car and we didn't sacrifice something. So I think I would have to get out of the leafers at that point. If I'm going to start building more cool cars, I'd have to get out of the leafers. And I still got a 73, 77 chassis sitting out in my shed out there. I just got it hung up on the side of the wall. I don't know what we're going to do with it, but I hate to retire. It's a good car. I didn't want it to be in the back of my mind that because I was trying to make a 112 inch, that was always handicapped. But I think that car has a future as a factory stock, but we have to put an aftermarket firewall and floor pan and stuff in it, and then put the mounts back on the front. If anybody has got an extra set of upper mounts that have been cut off of a Camaro or a 73, 77 chassis, that's the same. Even though the frame's different, the actual mounts on the top and all of that is exactly the same on a Generation 2 Camaro, but then also on the 73, 77 GM chassis. It's the exact same upper mounts, y'all, in case you didn't know it. Same control arms, same everything. Same spindles. The center link's different because the actual track width's a little bit different, but like it's literally everything bolted on the sides is the same. I need a set. If I had a set, that would allow me to like convert the 73, 77 to a factory stock. I need a set. And you can't order something like that. I got to get somewhere somebody has like cut them out and put weight jacks on their car or something like that, or a destroyed, Camaro front clip, or a destroyed, 73, 77 clip, and they can cut out of, is what I need for that. And rules on Cruiser this year. So I got a ton of grooved tires, and that's got to go. They're no good. I mean, I run them on the Camaro. But I gotta go buy tires. Because I got all these tires that. So like, look right here. You see that? Which this is folded in half, y'all. This is the size of the tire normally. It's folded in. But anyway, you see how I cut that across? Man, that works good in the mud. That is this is the pattern to do on an H500 to make it work. I'm telling you. But you see this one. This one is like siped all to snot both ways. And then I cut it apart, cut the lugs, the chain link across here. I cut them apart and everything. I like that. I mean, it seems to still work good in the slick, and it gives you the ability for your tire to clean itself out when you're in the muck, when you're in the wet and the slime. It seems to give you a little bit of grip, because these H500s, man, when you're on a slimy track, they are terrible. It seemed to really help. So anyway, but they got to go. I think May. So I'll be able to lead out the first of the year. But anyway, I got some tires I bought last year that, I keep everything in the shop and keep it in the dark, but, to try to make sure that they continue to punch around 52, 53, 54 on the durometer. But yeah, they got to go. They got to go. So, and tires are stupid, outrageously expensive. We need Crate Racing USA. That I understand the partnership with like a big company like Hoosier. I get it. I understand it. But here's my counter to that. What good is your partnership with a supplier if that partnership, ruins your class and closes your business down? In other words, like, I've got this great partnership with Hoosier, and they do this for us, and they do that for us, and we promote them, and we require that you can only run their tires. But by doing that, you're creating a scenario where that you are slowly crushing, your class, and you're making people get frustrated and give up. And it's just that one more thing that, like, somebody pulls the trigger and says, I've had enough. And it was, and it's the price of tires, or being frustrated with the options for tires, and you can't try anything different or whatever. And so you lose a few here and you lose a few there. And it's a couple of different choices and decisions like that get made. And it's not any one of them, but together it slowly over time it ruins your motorsports industry as far as a particular venue, a particular class of car, a league, and that's like, what happens to them? Well, that kind of stuff. And like, no, it wasn't this. Well, it wasn't that alone, but that was one of the contributing factors, was that, you were locked in so tight with Hoosier that, that monopoly, let bad practices come forward, let people be taken advantage of, you have a controlled distributor for a regional area, and you can't buy a tire anywhere else. Like, I can't in West Tennessee, I cannot call Smalley's and have H500 shipped to me. They won't. It's a protected region. I don't have a choice. I can't buy tires from them. I can buy tires cheaper in Texas and pay the shipping and everything and still be cheaper, but I can't do it. And I understand that. But, it's like, my point is, it's like, hey, if your main, like, what's your mission here? Is it to grow motorsports? Is it to grow your classes? Is it to have more racers and stuff? Because if it is, okay, it's probably healthy to have a couple of different tire supply manufacturers, a couple of different options. That way, you've got some good, healthy competition going on. And if any one manufacturer just goes nuts or loses their mind or doesn't have their inventory and their supply like they should, and, then you have something like happened in 2019, and now all of a sudden you don't have any tires available, you should diversify that. If you really care about, your sport, you should diversify that. You should have a couple of different manufacturers, and you should have American Racer McCreary's. You should have them. Hoosier should have to compete with them across the nation. It's like monopolies are bad. They are very bad. I mean, they seem great when you're on the inside of it, but when you're on the outside of it, it's terrible, because you're just going to pay. If you play, you're going to pay. You know, and I understand it's like, well, if you want to race, you're going to pay, period. Well, I get that, but you literally are making it worse and you're running people out of the sport. And don't forget, all you sprint car and you super late model guys, if you ain't got no street stocks there to roll that track in, you the ones rolling it in. So you better not down us too much. You know, so yeah, that's how I feel. So, you know, on the tires, no more cutting, griping, no more cutting or grinding or siping or anything on the tires. Probably the purpose of that is just you got to buy more tires. Okay, I get it. I know what it is. Fine. So that rule changed there, and then they changed the nose up. There was a restriction on the noses you could run. Really peeved a few people off when they upped the rules on the noses. And what I say on the nose deal on crate racing. So the crate racing, what they did is they specified you specifically could only run like the Dominator Camaro nose or the Dominator Monte Carlo nose or I think it's the performance bodies. There's a couple of different options, but like they spell like this part number or this part number or this part number, kind of like IMCA does. And I get it, but my counter to that is that, okay, actually the problem is you had a rule package that would control the look of the body and you just didn't enforce it. I was at the Street Stock Nationals last year, and of course, I didn't make the big show. But, you know, I'm walking up through there, and I'm looking at the lineup, you know, because they start like 30 cars, you know, for the feature show at the Street Stock Nationals. At Why Not, you know, that aren't from around here, Why Not, Mississippi is where it's at. It's the biggest street stock show in the southeastern U.S., in my opinion. But anyway, I'm looking at the lineup, and the first 10 cars, I was like, is this a street stock? Is this a street stock feature? Or wait a minute, are these the 602 late models? Or are these hold on, I thought it was just street stocks and factory stocks. What are late models doing it? Oh, those are street stocks. Okay. And I mean, you know, because the noses they had taken that, you know, you're taking a Camaro nose and then you're turning around and you're canting that thing like 30 degrees, and then you're turning around and you're taking a skirt, you know, a valence piece that should have been like maybe 3, 4, 5 inches on the bottom of it at most. And it's like a 12 or 18 inch piece that's on a 45-degree angle out to the front. And the cars look silly. They do. Aerodynamically, they probably perform great. They probably, once you get that thing up in attitude and you get it pinned on the track, you know, you're in the slick and you get that thing pinned into position. And, you know, you're just turning these ovals, rounding the track out, and you've got all the air cut out from underneath the car. So you've maximized your downforce. You're making the front tires feel like they got a couple extra 100 pounds on them that's just air pressure. So, like, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does work. But when you read the rules that they did have, it didn't allow any of that. Like, none of that would have passed muster. And, you know, it's like, and then just everybody, and I don't blame guys for doing it because, you know, they go and they race against somebody who's pushed that out just a little bit further past the rules. And so then they're like, well, if they can do that and they're getting away with it, I can do that, you know? And so then everybody's just the next. That's 100%. That's just policing of your rules. That's all that is. And so we turn around and, you know, we've got to where that, you know, they change and they say, okay, you can only run these noses, yada, yada, yada. Well, maybe now you got somebody's got to buy a nose who wasn't in any way violating that, wasn't in any way who they were after, or none of it, but they got to go buy a nose. And so then my question is, okay, is that the guy that says, you know what, I'm just not even worried about that. I'm not putting anybody on my car. We got this local track. They're not sanctioned. We'll just race there next year. Maybe I'll go run some more cruiser if I have to put anybody on the car. Well, you just lost a racer. And so, you know, I look at that. And so, I don't know. Sometimes on the rules, it's like, you know, it's like, I really just want you to enforce a set of rules and don't change them. Just enforce them. So, oh, I'm really ranting now. I need to let y'all go, don't I? I'm an hour. We got to go. Y'all be good.